What is up, Marvel fans and Insomniac fans, Spider-Man 2 fans, Lost Legacy fans? What is going on, guys? So today I got something crazy for you. So I finished the game of Marvel Spider-Man 2 a long time ago, and I'm finally making a review for this game, and it's gonna be a great review. So you guys just sit back, enjoy, and like the video down below. Also subscribe to the channel, and also put a comment in there. Tell me what you guys think about Marvel Spider-Man 2 that was made by Insomniac Games. So you guys go ahead and let me know. Alright, so the combat for the game was greatly improved. So at first you're kind of just doing your regular, you're punching people, jumping around, dodging, right? And then they threw in the parrying system. The parrying system took me the entire game to finally get down, but that's also because I was playing it on the hardest difficulty at that time. So I was very out of practice with Marvel Spider-Man, so it just took me the entire time to, get it right, and I finally got it right. And let me tell you what, once you get the parrying down, it changes things so dramatically. It changes the flow of combat, it changes how much you get hit, it changes what it looks like. You can get more badass moments parrying attacks and everything. It was just, the parrying system was a really great thing to add into this game, and I'm so glad Insomniac thought about it. Alright, so the web swing in the game was greatly improved. You swing through the city a lot faster, and it just looked really good. They did a really good job, and they really took advantage of the power of the PS5 in this game, and I'm just so grateful Insomniac captivated on what they did right in the first two games. Insomniac also did a really good job with the web wings. You could fly around the city pretty smooth. I thought there were going to be clipping problems where you're flying around and you clip to a building because you got too close, or you clip to a light pole, or you clip to a crane, or something crazy like that. But no, it was actually really smooth. The web wings did really good in the gameplay. I didn't have a single problem with the web wings, and I just found them really helpful, And also a good thing about the web wings is they all have, Peter and Miles has different suits. So Peter has suits where the web wings look different. I think he has one where there's a backpack on his back, and it's actually mechanical wings, and that was a really cool detail in the game. And then Miles also had his different suits, and all his suits had different designs for the web wings. So I just thought Insomniac did a really good job and really took their time with the web wings, because it was a new mechanic and they wanted to get it right. And let me tell you what, Insomniac, you got it right. So another thing Insomniac added was the abilities down in the bottom left, and then they also reworked the gadgets in the bottom right. But we're going to start with the abilities. So the abilities were really cool. I like that you had the 4 abilities that you can choose from. They really changed up the combat in the game and made it more interesting, along with the parrying. The combat in this game was just spot on. I can't even complain about the combat. It was just really good. But the way that you recharged your abilities was, you had to punch the crap out of a lot of bad guys, or just dodge a whole bunch, or parry, and they would recharge. And it took forever to recharge unless you got the certain skills and upgrades. And then it kind of, it kind of just worked its way to where they came back pretty often. And then the gadget wheel, that was also pretty interesting how they did that. So in the first two games, you pushed L1 and you got an entire gadget wheel on there, and I liked it like that because then you had room for all these other gadgets. But on this game, they completely got rid of that. So they put a thing in the bottom right hand corner. You push like R1, and then you push square, triangle, circle, or X, and you got a gadget that you could use. My problem with it was there was only 4 gadgets. 4 gadgets. They got very boring to use after a while. I mean, there was only so much that you could do with them. You had the trip mine ones, not the trip mines, I don't even know what they're called. The ones that you throw out there and it grabs a couple enemies and pulls them all in, right? That one was a lot of fun. And then you also had the upshot gadget where you shot that out, and then it shot people up into the air to where you can then have the advantage, either take out the guys on the bottom, or you can take out the guys that are floating in the air. Either way, it got you out of some situations every once in a while. And then you had the concussion bursts, and the concussion bursts were actually pretty cool. I ain't gonna lie. Concussion bursts, I kind of messed with it. Alright, it was pretty good. Now the last thing they added, now it wasn't really a gadget, but the web lines. So you could push L2, I believe it was. You'd look at a wall, push triangle, and then it would create this web line that you could walk on. It was just a web that you threw at the wall, real quick. Threw at the wall, and you could walk on it, and then it'd give you opportunity to take down some bad guys stealthily, or or whatever you wanted to do. You could shoot it at a wall and slingshot yourself off of it, or you could just get screenshots, and it was just cool. It was cool. The web lines were pretty cool. I'm glad they added that in the game. Alright, so moving on from the combat and the traversal and all that, I want to talk a little bit about the details in this game. So, the details in the game. So, there's mirrors in this game, and a lot of games don't do this. So, I made sure to test this out because I wanted to see for myself. So you could walk in front of a mirror and it would actually show Peter's reflection in real time in the mirror. And I thought that was a really, really cool detail because a lot of games don't put that in their games. For whatever reason. I have no idea why, but a lot of games just don't do that. Another detail that I thought was really cool. So if you played as Peter and you shot your webs out, his webs made a different sound. They sounded soft. They sounded softer. You know, it was a softer sound. And then if you went over to Miles and you shot his webs out, they were just kind of like a heavier sound. They were just a lot deeper sound is what I'm trying to say. It was a lot deeper sound, like I don't know. It's just a really cool detail that they added in the game. Another detail that I wanted to talk about too is when you get through a certain part of the story and you got symbiotes everywhere, you can actually catch a lot of the civilians hiding inside of the storefronts or hiding inside their apartments, and I thought that was really nice. And then another detail, which was really cool because I remember finding this detail because I was trying to recreate some of the Tobey Maguire posters and stuff. And if you went up to certain buildings that had reflections on them, it would actually show your reflection in the building, and I thought that was super nice to see. I got some really cool pictures off of that, and it was just, I loved it. Paying attention to detail is a pretty hard thing to do, especially when you're so engaged into the game. You're not really focusing on the smaller things. But one of the smaller things that really stood out to me is no matter what symbiote it was, it didn't matter where it was, who it was, what it was. It looked like it was always moving, and I loved that feature. I mean, that was just a really nice, it wasn't even a feature, it was a detail. I just loved that detail. So in the symbiote suit, you could see it kind of moving around on Peter, even on Harry, you can see it was just kind of moving around on Harry, and it just looked awesome. It looked really good. Alright, so there were a lot of smaller details in this game that a lot of people probably missed out on, and there's probably a lot of details that I missed out on. And trust me, there is more to be said about details, but I cannot be stuck on details the entire video, so we are going to have to move on. Alright? If you guys know any more details and you want to bring them up and you want to talk about how cool it was, put it down in the comments below. Alright? I would love to hear more about this game from you guys and how you guys love it and all that. It makes me feel good knowing that you guys are watching my content and that you guys love such a beautiful game that I love. And yeah, just go ahead and put it down in the comments. Like the video so far. Okay, so far we've talked about the good things, right? I'm trying to go from the good, the bad, to the ugly. So we talked about the good things. Now we're going to talk about the bad things about this game. What made this game not bad, but these things were not the greatest. Narrative. We're going to talk about the narrative. So through the entire story, like I said, there wasn't any real character development going on. With the characters. I mean, they introduced the characters, you did a couple missions, and then something else happened, and you know, things just changed in this story. And I think that was because the story was so short that there wasn't room for any character development. The Insomniac was just trying to tell a story instead of trying to develop characters in the story, right? They just wanted you guys to hear their story. Now the story in this game, it was a very good story. They told a very, very good story. It's just, like I said before, the character development, it just wasn't there. If they would have made the game a little bit longer, a couple more hours longer, they could have had time for storytelling in the game or character development or whatever. But they chose to keep it short, and I think I remember reading a comment somewhere. They only used about 10% of Venom's dialogue in this game. We could have got to see Venom for a lot longer if they would have taken their time to write out a longer story. They should have wrote the story out at least a couple more hours longer, and everything probably would have panned out a little bit better. But personally, this is 2023. We're going into 2024. The story just has to be longer than 20 hours. I mean, the games are $70. Other companies are trying to push for higher game prices when they release, and I'm sorry, Insomniac, but I'm not going to be paying more than $70 for a game that you only get 20 hours of the story and then 30 hours for side content. I'm just not satisfied with that. Alright, so we're getting towards the end of the review, and we talked about the good, we talked about the bad. There was really no ugly to talk about. Like I said, this is just a beautiful game. It looks great, it played great, the story was great. The game was just really short, and that's what it boils down to, is the story and the narrative. That was just really short, and there was no character development really to be seen other than for Peter, and you barely got to see that for Peter because the story was so short. I mean, you saw Peter from the beginning, it was great, and then you got the symbiote, you were sitting there hoping like, oh man, I hope we have the symbiote for a while, I want to see how Peter changes with it, blah blah blah. Peter only had the symbiote for just like 2 or 3 missions, and then bam, it was gone, and I just was not okay with that. I enjoyed a lot of the side content in this, especially with the Spider-Verse, Spider-Bot, you know, side content they added, the Flame side content they added, the Sandman side content they added. It was just really great. I loved fighting all these other villains and these bad guys. That was great. The side content was amazing. Like I said, there was 30 hours of side content, and to me, 30 to 40 hours of side content is pretty nice. But the story was only 20 hours, and that was just too short. I'm sorry. That was just way too short. So my review on this game, my review score for this game, 1 out of 10, I'm going to have to say that the review for this game, I'm going to give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. Considering, you know, the story just kind of was, it was too short. Right, it was just too short. I blew through the game so fast, man, and I've replayed it so many times already. It was just too short. So my score for this game is definitely going to be around an 8.5 out of 10, and I think that's a pretty good review. But what's also unfortunate is this game didn't get any awards, and they kind of brought up, you know, narrative, and that's kind of where I came up with my points. So like, okay, narrative could have been better. The length of the story could have been better. I mean, we could have been better. Now, given the fact, this is my review right now, once we get the DLC content, and that's going to add more hours onto the campaign of the game, then after we get those 3 DLCs, if we're even getting 3, we could get more than 3, we could get less than 3. But I feel like once the DLC content is added, then the story campaign would probably be much more satisfying, because that's just adding more hours to the game that you can play. And I personally, depending on how the DLC goes, I might give this game a 10 out of 10, right? Depending on how long the DLCs are. But as always, guys, I hope you guys loved this review. If you did, go ahead and drop a like. And if you had some more valid points on why I could be wrong for the things I said, or why I'm right for the things I said, comment that down below. Alright, I need the feedback. I want to hear the feedback from you guys. As always, this is Lost Legacy. Peace out.